Within every child, there's a world of promise. So much potential, so much to accomplish and experience, so much hope. And then comes the diagnosis, and juvenile diabetes puts all of that promise at risk. In 1999, the young son of a JDRF volunteer decided to do something about it. He and 100 other children would go to Congress to become advocates for their own cures. 5 years later, there were honorary delegates from around the world joining now 200 JDRF kids, standing up for themselves, asking for the dollars that will cure them.
Live from our CNN World headquarters, I'm Rudy Bakhtiar, and this is Headline News Tonight. Actress and advocate Mary Tyler Moore says she had diabetes for more than 35 years and she's tired of it. That's the message she gave to a Senate committee on Tuesday when she asked for more funding to fight juvenile diabetes.
Now, 11 News at 5.
They call it the Children's Congress. A pilgrimage to Capitol Hill once every 2 years to request research funds.
North Carolina is sending 2 girls to Washington this weekend to serve as the state's voice at Children's Congress.
Live from the Bay Area's news station, this is KRON 4 News at 5.
An estimated 17 million Americans have diabetes. 1 million of those have juvenile or type 1 diabetes.
Now a young Bay Area girl is headed to the nation's capital to raise awareness about that problem.
We want to go to Washington, D.C. because actress Mary Tyler Moore is testifying on Capitol Hill.
5 children from the tri-state area made an emotional trip to Washington, D.C. today. They reminded Congress of the need to find a cure for juvenile diabetes.
Joining Mary Tyler Moore in Washington is Dr. Douglas Melton, Harvard science professor. He has 2 children who've been diagnosed with diabetes, Sam and Emma. Is that what got you involved, Dr. Melton?
Yes, it is. My son Sam was diagnosed when he was 6 months old. And Emma, my daughter, who's now 16, was diagnosed a little more than a year ago. And as the millions of parents with children of type 1 diabetes, it gets your attention, and that's why I now work on that problem.
What is this Children's Congress all about?
Well, Larry, it's a wonderful opportunity for 200 youngsters ranging in age from 2 to 17 years old to come to Washington to talk with their representatives, both in the Senate and in the House.
The obvious, though, does it pay off?
Yes, it does. I am told that when those children, not me, but when the children come to Washington, it really hits home. During JDRF's Children's Congress, delegates stood on the steps of their nation's capital and sang. Courageous young children who, as I do, want a cure. These children converged on Washington, walking to cure diabetes, participating in a Senate committee hearing, and talking with their nation's officials.
Your voices have been heard throughout the halls of Congress, and you can bet that we are listening to your concerns. Your thoughts and personal stories have touched all of us in many ways, and we very much want to help.
We are going to find a cure, and we're going to find a cure as soon as it is absolutely humanly possible. And that is a promise.
I wanted to know if more stem cells will be made available, we're going to be made available to researchers.
We are going to do everything we possibly can to do more stem cell research.
How does diabetes, or specifically juvenile diabetes, how does that rank among all the other diseases and illnesses when it comes to the prioritizing the funds?
Alan, do you want to say specifically in your institute?
Sure, I'd be happy to just address that. You need to understand, juvenile diabetes, as many of you now know, is an autoimmune disease, a disease in which the immune system destroys these islets, these beta cells. But there are a lot of other autoimmune diseases. And when we study the immune system, the complicated immune system, we're doing research that is important for juvenile diabetes and many of these other diseases.
I was committed before I came in, but I'm much more committed than I've ever been to finding that cure. And I will be putting pressure on my chief researcher, my friend Alan Spiegel, and the wonderful researchers we have at NIH to find a cure and to spend the money wisely to find that cure. They're going to bring tears to the eyes of people in Congress. And, you know, I had the privilege of talking to them for an hour and listening to their stories. And if you don't get teary-eyed, I don't think you're human. I mean, they're remarkable young people.
It's wonderful to have all the children here today. I know that your slogan is "Promise to Remember Me." And I want to tell you that when I see your faces, I know all of us do promise to remember you and to fight for the research funding that will produce a cure.
I know all too well about the devastation of diabetes. Diabetes has followed me and haunted me my entire life for 3 generations of my family. When my son Dylan was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I was devastated. We walk a tightrope in caring for Dylan to help our child feel love and joy when we continually assault his body with needles and lancets. We give our child hope and faith in the face of fear and disease. We tell Dylan he is healthy, but he needs medicine every day, all day, to survive. I know that a cure is possible and within our reach, and I hope it will be found so that Dylan and all of these children will live a long and fulfilling life. This is my greatest wish, and why we are here today to ask for your help and support in our quest for a cure. Say thank you.
Thank you. My name is Sophia, and like my friend Dylan, I don't know what life is like to have a day without diabetes. I am 7 years old. I have had diabetes since I was 1. I have taken 4,380 shots of insulin and have pricked my finger over 13,000 times to test my blood sugar. I don't like it. It hurts.
At first, I didn't know what diabetes was. The doctor told me I would have to take insulin shots for the rest of my life. I didn't think that diabetes would change my life that much, but boy, was I wrong. We will do our part to educate policymakers about diabetes and raise money to support research. But we need you to be our partner in this effort. We can't do it alone.
It's effective as can be. I mean, how can you turn down a precious child with a chronic disease that asks and pleads for a cure? I mean, it's an irresistible force, these young children, and they're committed, they're their best self-advocates, and I think they have a huge impact on members of Congress.
When the children come to Washington and lobby, it always amazes the members of Congress. They talk about it for weeks. They'll say, you know, one of your little children came to my office, like they're all my kids, you know, and they say they're so brave, and I didn't ever realize how much they have to go through. It's a powerful bipartisan message here in Congress.
The theme of Children's Congress is Promise to Remember Me, and we're here to say thank you to Congresswoman DeGette, Congressman George Nethercott, Senator Baucus, and to say thank you to our national presenting sponsor, LifeScan, a Johnson & Johnson company, and our national sponsors, BD Consumer Healthcare, Delta Airlines, and Medtronic MiniMed. Without the help of our corporate sponsors and friends here, we would not be able to raise the $100 million a year that the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation pours into research.
That's the power of Children's Congress. That's the power of JDRF, because then we come together and we're all sharing and we all know that power, and that's why we're going to get a cure, and that's why I believe we'll convince Congress. It won't be easy, but you know what? Living with diabetes isn't easy, and we're used to not easy, and we're a very determined group.
Oh, yeah. My name is Eric Bonas. I am 18 years old and from Omaha, Nebraska. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 10. 3 years after doctors diagnosed my little brother Alex with diabetes. For 3 years I had seen the fear and the tears in the eyes of my little brother as he endured thousands of finger pokes and insulin shots. I knew I was about to get my first finger poke to test my blood sugar. I was terrified. I had always been afraid for Alex. Now I was afraid for me.
When I was diagnosed, no one on either side of my family had type 1 diabetes, so living with it was a real big shock to us. I remember feeling lost, confused, and alone. When I was 7, I felt like I was saved. That's when Eric was also diagnosed with diabetes. I know it sounds terrible to say I felt like I was saved because my brother was diagnosed with diabetes. How could such a bad thing become good? I was sad Eric had to go through so much pain, but somehow I no longer felt alone. When Eric reached out to me, I made sure I was there for him. Don't get me wrong, Eric can be a real pain. But it was important for me to be there for him.
Many of the kids here today, like my friend Alex, worry about getting complications from juvenile diabetes when they get older. I'm here to tell you that some of us, like me, already have serious complications from juvenile diabetes. I worry about what will happen to my kidneys and what other complications I will face as I get older. If a cure isn't found soon, I'm also blind in one eye. Not from diabetes, but I worry about what diabetes will do to my other eye. I don't have time to wait. Please promise to remember me. Please promise to remember us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lovey. It's so important that you've traveled here in Washington today to tell your personal stories. You put the human faces on all of these statistics. You are more effective than any adult lobbyist could ever be, with the exception of course, Mary Tyler Moore.
I wish I could say that I am happy to be here, but meaning no disrespect, I am definitely not. You see, I've had juvenile diabetes for more than 35 years now, and I'm tired of it. I sincerely wish that I didn't have to come back year after year to seek your help, and I do. I have to for myself, for everyone with diabetes, and most especially for the beautiful and courageous children who are here with me today. Each of these children and I need to be a mathematician, a physician, a personal trainer, and a dietitian all rolled into one. We need to be constantly factoring, adjusting, making frequent finger sticks to check blood sugar levels, and giving ourselves multiple daily insulin injections just to stay alive. Not to live life to its fullest, mind you, just to stay alive. Please listen to the children this morning who will tell you how they struggle with juvenile diabetes. Learn how they bravely face its daily challenges, challenges that no 15-year-old or 8-year-old or 2-year-old should have to. Feel their longing to know a day without diabetes and live the normal, carefree life of a child.
In our busy lives, in the coming days, you and I will go our separate ways. Tell me while we share this moment, tell me you remember me.
All of us, JDRF's legion of volunteers, moms, dads, friends, and loved ones, we're here to say that a cure is going to happen. All we have to do is meet the promise of our children with a promise of our own. We will remember, and with your help, we will cure diabetes.
Every now and then, while you're running free, promise to remember